Hey, good morning. I'm Commissioner Tim Eccles. It's Thursday in Georgia. That means community focus, Faith.
It sure does.
Faith, I've already been to Athens and done live radio this morning, went to the gym, lifted a few weights, not that much, and then back now with our friends. Where are we in Georgia today?
We are in Jackson County. We're in Commerce this morning, way up almost to South Carolina. Y'all are a long way up.
Yeah, and I'm in Jackson County right now, too. I'm in Houston. This is my home county. Awfully proud to have my friends from Commerce today. And, Commerce is a well-kept secret in Georgia. They've got their own school system, as we're going to find out. The Tanger outlets are maybe what people know Commerce for. The former Atlanta Dragway was up here. And before that, a lot of commerce, right, James? We're going to talk about that today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got Young B. Dale, and we're going to be talking about human trafficking, as we always do. Thursday, Faith, you've got a great interview with Young B., and it's very timely as we think about the spa shootings, as we think about Asian women being trafficked to the U.S. Horrific. We're going to learn more about that. Hey, Young B., good to see you.
Good to see you too.
And Stephen Jang with SK Innovations. Stephen, it's all the rage. Everybody's talking about SK from the governor's office, really all over America. This is getting such publicity, and we're going to talk with you about the great things that you guys are going to be doing up there.
Great to be here.
Yeah, well, Faith, let's start off with James. James, you're the city manager for Commerce. You've been doing that for quite a while, and before that, running finances. So you've been promoting Commerce. What do you tell people when they ask you, where's Commerce, and why should I care?
Oh, Commerce it's such a wonderful little place, and it is kind of a hidden gem. You'd mentioned a little bit earlier, the Tanger outlets. That is right off the interstate, and that is what a lot of people think about. However, if you travel just a mile inland on exit 147 before you hit the outlets, you'll come into a real treasure, a very historic downtown, very walkable, great people, and just a lot to offer between restaurants and kind of specialty shops, things that you won't necessarily see up at the outlets. That's really a kind of a true hidden gem. And if people just look a little bit farther and drive maybe an extra mile out of their way, they'll be able to find it.
Yeah. Faith, you've been to Jaymore Farms. You ever been to Jaymore Farms as you head up to the mountains? Probably.
I have. I used to spend a lot of time in Commerce, actually.
Yeah, there's Jaymore Farms right there at that Tanger exit. The big farm, of course, is over in Lula, Georgia, but the Eccles own Jaymore Farms, my relatives. So we are frequent flyers at both the Lula and the Commerce Jaymore. In fact, my daughter, who goes to school at Toccoa Falls Bible College, goes through Commerce, went through this morning, went through yesterday for class. She commutes because she works at a horse farm right behind my house here in Houston. And she stopped in yesterday to Jaymore, and she said, Dad, they've got orange ice cream now. Orange. And so we love the strawberry and the peach, and they've added orange. So a shout out to Jaymore. James, you ever go up to Jaymore and get a little snack?
I do. They have some of the best sandwiches. Honestly, I love going there and getting lunch. I have my frequent flyer card, and in fact, I have my 10th one free. So I'm probably going to be heading up there a little bit later today. Those and the fried pies, you can't beat them. Yeah,
that's great. Excuse the noise. I'm having a porch put on my house here and some solar as well. So we've got a little noise going on. James, tell us about the Commerce school system, because one of the top ranked school systems in the state of Georgia.
It is. We are very blessed to have our own independent school system. They have a lot of history. They have a lot of pride, and that really shows in the small community. They contribute to the quality of life for Commerce as a whole. And really, the school system is an attraction in itself. That is really one of the draws that make people want to live here, is having that quality school, having the small classrooms that that extra attention that you get really from having a smaller size school is a big draw, and Commerce City schools have done a very good job.
You know, I want to give a shout out today, Faith, to a virtual good citizen that's not here today, but I just want to give a shout out to Grove Level Church up there that works both in Banks County as well as Jackson County. Jeff Appling, the pastor, and they really do a lot in the community. I mean, from helping kids in school with backpacks and different things to all that they do in serving the community. James, you got some great charities going up in the area.
We do, and I'm glad you mentioned Grove Level. That's actually my home church.
That's
and they
cool.
do a great job. Yeah, and I love Pastor Jeff and really all the staff up there. They really have been a part of the community. That's where they feel they can do the most good and where they're called by God. So thank you for listening to them.
Hey, James, we've got Stephen Jang from SK Innovations. He's coming to us from the plant. And if folks haven't driven up I-85 recently, you may pass the BMW plant in Spartanburg and think that's a big plant. I tell you, when you pass this SK Innovation plant, you go, wow, what is that? James, this is, I think this is going to be transformative for Commerce, Jackson, and Banks County.
It absolutely is. Commerce is the home of the plant, but it is truly going to be a regional powerhouse, in my opinion. It is a very imposing structure when you drive up the interstate. When you said, wow, that really captures it. And you see just one building, that has a twin building going up right next to it right now. But it really will have a big impact in the area. I think it helps place the city of Commerce, Jackson County, and the region in a good spot for the automotive and technological industry coming in. Just all the components that are going to be used, not only to serve SK, but the auto industry as a whole. I think with SK here, that really puts us on the map and gets us a good position to help capture some of that business, creating good industry and good jobs for our citizens.
James, I think the city of Commerce, the mayor, the council, I think you guys need to be first in line for an F-150 Lightning. I think y'all need to go ahead and put your order in right now. I think you need to wrap it. Battery made in Commerce, Georgia. I mean, it's going to be a great opportunity. I don't know how the city feels about electric vehicles. I know a lot of the small cities haven't really gone electric yet, but Commerce has to. They just have to,
I agree. And I'm very excited actually for the F-150 Lightning, as well as the Volkswagen ID4. That's a very good looking vehicle. And you're right. Some of the small cities, we haven't been some of the first adopters. It hasn't been very popular, in the community. But all that's going to change. It's going to change over time, and not just because of SK, although that does give us a boost. All the auto manufacturers are going to be phasing out the combustion engine over time. And as we're trying to prepare for that, we're looking at the infrastructure we have in place to help support that. We're in the process now of redoing one of our parking lots across from the Civic Center, and we're programming in charging stations just so we can get ahead of that and give people an option, as well as when we start growing our fleet here in Commerce, we will look at electrification in those areas that it really makes sense, for the meter reading folks that are out there driving around every day. It makes sense for them to have an electric vehicle or pool cars, things of that nature. We will want to kind of focus on that and start electrifying our fleet.
Well, James, thanks for being on with us today. Keep up the great work. Tell the mayor that I said hello and enjoy that J. Moore sandwich today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, right. James.
Hey, let's bring Stephen into our shot, Faith. Stephen, coming to us from SK Innovations. We've been talking about it, Stephen, and I had a chance to ride in the F-150 Lightning last Thursday, a week ago. I was at Atlanta Motor Speedway and on an autocross course with a professional driver. How excited are you all at SK to be involved with producing batteries for the ID4 and the F-150 Lightning?
It is overall, I mean, these products are the way of the future. Like it or not, it's coming. And I think we're just very proud to be part of the whole rollout in the United States of these electric vehicles, especially the iconic F-150. And, I get a lot of questions about towing and, torque and whatnot. And I always use the example, if you go to the golf course and you have a gas cart and an electric cart, the gas cart is much better off the line. It's more powerful. The gas engine always, there's a lot of loss of energy. So regardless, we're just very honored to be part of the whole EV infrastructure rollout in the United States.
Stephen, or is it lithium ion? Is that the chemistry that you'll be making there, or do you anticipate that changing over time?
As technology changes, it will change. But at the moment, we are a lithium ion based battery manufacturer with nickel, cobalt, and manganese in that mixture. And that's what all the batteries are using at this point that are in current mass production.
And so, I have been to California to a battery plant. I was, watching them. The sales were coming to America, and they were putting them together and then testing them. Are you going to be making batteries from scratch there?
We already are making batteries from scratch. We started in March of this year. But due to safety protocol and extensive testing that we must go through from a cell level to a module level and to a pack level, which goes underneath the car, we will be going through at least 9 months of extensive testing because we do not want any problems in our product and our customers' product at Ford and Volkswagen down the line. So there is extensive testing going on at the moment.
What do you expect to be the economic impact of the plant?
For this plant, it's every time I get asked that question, my answer is jobs. Directly, we will be creating 2,600 jobs, 2,600 jobs. That's directly. I am being told by many sources that there are a good number of suppliers that are looking to move to or relocate to the United States, and they are looking at Georgia. We already have one company and one of our suppliers for the electrolyte already set up shop in Commerce, a company named NChem. There are numerous other companies that are in the Jackson County area, Hall County, and the surrounding to support us. But overall, I'm still being told there are a very multiple number of companies looking to relocate. That will be impact that we cannot really measure at this point economically and in terms of jobs as well.
We mentioned Jaymore. Have you had a chance to go to Jaymore yet, by the way, up there at the Tanger exit?
Fire as well as James, where I have those little stamp books that they get.
Okay. So with 2,600 people, are you going to have a cafeteria there? And what kind of food offerings will you have there on the site?
What kind of food offerings I do not know at this point, but we are currently building a cafeteria that's quite sizable, and we will have vendors inside supplying food to our staff. And one point of note is that we do supply free meals to our staff.
Wow. Yeah,
we don't get those here at the state.
No, we have a very expensive cafeteria
yes, we do.
At the state. What about EV chargers for employees? Are you going to have some EV chargers out there? Like when I come and visit and tour the plant, will I be able to plug my electric car in?
In due time, yes. The infrastructure rollout, our concentration has been to meet our customer needs at Volkswagen and Ford. And our top priority right now is building the plants out, testing, and getting them off the line to go into these cars. Everybody, battery makers, the OEMs, automakers are in a race to get to that line quick. And we are here to meet the needs of our customers. So that's our top priority. Yes, it shouldn't be a secondary priority, but we will be building out EV charging stations at the site and other sort of amenities for our employees in due time and hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, that's that's exciting. Tanger has some chargers. I know I charge there occasionally, and then you heard James mention that they're going to build a few chargers. But obviously, the impact of the batteries being built in Georgia, being, quote, Georgia grown, right, as our ag department likes to say, I think it's going to have a ripple effect throughout state government. Up to this point, our small cities and even my Republican colleagues out there, they haven't been that favorable towards EVs, but I think this is going to change as that F-150 comes to the market, and as we're making batteries here in our own state for that. I think it's going to give us kind of a special vested interest in supporting the technology and what you're doing. Are you hearing the same thing?
I hear a little bit of it, but I'm much more hopeful than I was before, especially with the governor announcing the Electric Mobility Alliance recently, where he's trying to get industry and policymakers together to help grow the electric mobility industry in Georgia. And I think that is a very positive step in the right direction. And you are right, infrastructure is going to be a key in the electricity EV rollout across the country, because America, frankly, is very big, and trying to get those infrastructure is going to cost a lot of money. But at the end of the day, with us being here, with the governor taking the right steps to form that alliance, I think Georgia is headed in the right direction in terms of electric mobility. In addition to that, F-150 is an iconic vehicle. This is not like another they're not changing the face of the car. The car's staying the same. It's going to look like any other F-150, but it's an EV. So I think that plays a big role as well.
My favorite vehicle I've ever owned was an F-150.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It's the most popular vehicle in America. Stephen, recently I did a special event in Gwinnett County called the Asian Impact on Clean Energy. And we featured not only a Korean speaker with a Korean translator, by the way, because I had one older Korean that didn't speak English. So Kia loaned us their plant tour sound system, and he wore some headphones, and we had a translator. But we had a Vietnamese speaker talk about Vietnamese chicken farmers in Georgia and their transition to methane gas. We had a Taiwanese speaker talk about the impact of Chinese solar and what's going on there. And then we had the Japanese talk about their contribution, including a very high SEER HVAC units like down at the Mitsubishi plant. But it does seem like, Stephen, that so much is going on in Asia right now with clean energy. Why is clean energy so important to the Asian community?
To be honest, clean energy is important. It should be important everywhere around the world. Fossil fuels are limited. Fossil fuels will end. Solar, to my knowledge, is unlimited. Wind is unlimited. And water is unlimited. And at this point, because a lot of Asian countries do not have the natural resources of oil, of coal, unlimited resources for that matter, hence they are moving quicker into these renewable energies. It's very similar in Europe as well. The fossil fuels are mainly in North America, South America, and the Middle East. And most of the countries in Asia do not have the oil to support internal combustible engines.
Well, thank you for your leadership. I can't wait to get up there and see the facility. And we'll have to go to Jaymore, and I'll have to show you some of my favorite Jaymore Eccles foods, including some of the pickles there. So thank you, Stephen. Let's bring Young B. Dale into our conversation. Young B, good morning. It's good to have you here today. And you went to Liberty University, as did my daughter Mary, my daughter Bonnie, my wife, Liberty University has become quite the institution.
Yeah, it was a lot smaller when I was there, and it just has grown exponentially.
Yes. Well, Faith, this is our segment on human trafficking. So introduce Young B officially, and let's hear some of the things that she's working on.
Of course. Young B is the owner of Dale Consulting. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about some of the things that they do. We actually got in contact. She's not in Georgia. She's in Ohio, and we got in contact we were looking for someone who has expertise in specifically trafficking in the Asian American community. And we got connected with Young B, and she was gracious enough to come on with us today and give us a little bit of insight into that specific demographic of women and men who are exploited by traffickers. So Young B, tell us a little bit about how you started your company and what you do with your company.
So I started my company in 2019, but prior to, I have been involved in this work since 2005, and I have worked with the FBI agent, undercover, not undercover. I work with a lot of nonprofit, and I was also working with other policymakers to work on the trafficking in general. And afterwards, I noticed the difference between the gap between what was reported in Korean languages or any other languages, as opposed to what was reported in English newspapers. So I figured that I need to build a bridge between the two. And since then, our company has been educating and training law enforcement, including Georgia State. Since the shooting, we were the one who conducted a law enforcement training statewide, and we also trained the FBI U.S. Attorney's Office and Southern District in New York, and then also the New York State Victim Service Office.
So you're bilingual, right? You speak
Yes.
Korean and English, which is that how you got into undercover work with the FBI?
No, I actually, the undercover work had a lot to do with the Chinese restaurant labor trafficking work. But the reason why I started that's becoming my focus is because at this point, I'm like the only one who understand the organized crime aspect of the Korean sex trafficking market. Prior to that, we've been looking at this problem as more of like human rights, solely about human rights issue. And then as I dig deeper, it's becoming not just human rights issue, but also financial crime, tax evasion, organized crime, and any other criminal activities that are involved behind the scene.
So tell us more about the connection between organized crime, specifically in the Asian world, and human trafficking as we think of it.
So when you look at the massage parlor, you think that this is a little mom and pop shops that's making, I don't know, some, $100 here, $200, but that's not really the case. And when it comes to, I know that like in the United States, that people are very vastly focusing on drug cartels, because that seems to be the biggest underground business, but that's not how it is with the Asian criminals. They're more invested in commercial sex market than the drug. In fact, there's statistics came out of by Korean government, especially with the Korean South Korean organized criminals. 75% of their entire revenue comes from commercial sex market.
Wow.
Whether they're working as the facilitators or the running actual brothel. So you can think about it, it's a substantial amount of money that they're making off of exploiting these women and also the children in their own country.
Well, and worldwide, I think it's pretty accepted that the drug industry is first, but not by much financially, that human trafficking is second as far as money making, as far as the financial aspect. And, the thing that we've heard in trainings before is that you can only sell drugs once. And these gangs are realizing that you take a human and you can sell that commodity multiple times, and it's more lucrative than selling drugs that you can only sell once.
So in the past, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So in the past, we've been we're just kind of like looking at prostitution or commercial sexual exploitation as well, like it's like a given thing. It's the oldest profession. So people, including the UN, Human Rights Commission, they never looked at it as a money issue. And if you really count the amount of money that they're making off of massage parlors and any types of brothels, you're not just looking at $150 billion. There are other aspects of the criminal network. They're making so much money off of it. I don't think we have an accurate estimate because this has not been a priority for everyone up until just recent.
So who are the perpetrators in the Asian American world?
So it's kind of complicated. There are people who run the corporation, or there are people who run the brothels. A lot of people have an organized criminal background, especially in the United States. When they committed a crime in their own country, they come here, run away from their own authority, and then they start illicit businesses. Personally, I know that this one guy who was an organized criminal member, and he ran away from the Korean authority to escape the punishment. And then he was running 30-something massage parlors. And then on the outskirts of the Korean American community, he also owned the biggest hotel in LA. And nobody knew that he was making so much money off of 30-something plus massage parlors. These are the people who are running the actual massage parlors, not directly, but very indirectly, as an investor, as a facilitator, as providing, money laundering method or the visa fraud method or fraudulent IDs.
And they're getting the proceeds. They're getting the money from these parlors. So why is Georgia critical in this battle? What makes Georgia and the southeastern United States important?
So in Georgia, I will say that one of the biggest Korean American community is in Georgia. The bigger community is in New York State, and New York State is the one who supply all this facilitating documents, or what are the illicit documents. Now that the Georgia is kind of attracting more of the criminal activities. In fact, I have a conference in North Carolina coming up in September. And as I'm looking deeper into the market, the black market, the network all the way goes from Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, to North Carolina, South Carolina. I don't know what are the southern states that are involved, but it's critical to target the market in Georgia to tackle the entire region of southern state.
Faith, she's characterizing, these businesses as brothels, and I think in fact they are. We've heard it numerous times on the Unholy Tour with whether it's a district attorney or the GBI talk about this. And after the Asian spa shootings here in Atlanta, it seems like so much of the media coverage, Young B, did not want to acknowledge this fact. They went straight to Asian hate and wanted to focus on Asian hate and just kind of ignore the fact that these are brothels, that women are being exploited, that there's indentured servitude essentially going on. And in fact, in New York, Young B, I read in the New York Times right after our spa shootings that the 900 or so arrests that had been made over the last year in spa-related prostitution and brothel activity, that they just released all of those people because of the messaging about Asian hate, that somehow they felt sorry for people and now they release everyone. All the undercover work to arrest 900 people, in spas, it had to be enormous. Why is it that the media and everyone skipped over the brothel aspect of this business?
So I'm glad you mentioned this because one of the biggest battle that we're fighting as a faith-based organization, as someone as a Christian, for me personally, I may not be a faith-based organization. So there's a group of movement behind it that they're trying to decriminalizing prostitution. So if you are talking about, if you're including Georgia shooting has been, to me, it was an act of God. Not that God wanted these victims to be killed, but it's just, I kind of look at it more of like a grace of God that even allowed it to happen. Otherwise, nothing would have ever attracted attention to this issue. And these people do not want that. And these people want to cover it up as a hate crime, Asian crime. In fact, what's happening here, and not in the United States, that I was supposed to train this one statewide, and then COVID happened, and then after the COVID, they need some other issues. They want to focus on hate crime, and then when they created the hate crime task force, they want to move on to gun violence and all the other progressive agendas, so that the sex trafficking of Asian women will not get attention for the law enforcement or statewide effort.
Yeah. So, Faith, I think that we need to continue to try to connect Young B with as many people as we can. Young B, I would love to write an op-ed with you on this topic. Okay. You and I maybe together in the Atlanta Business Chronicle, and to bring this fact forward. I think enough time has passed where people can hear it now. Okay. So thank you very much for all of your great work that you're doing. I know that it's difficult because you're fighting this element out there, not only the criminal element and organized crime element, but you're also fighting this movement that really wants to legalize prostitution.
Right.
They're looking for any opportunity to advance their cause. Yeah. So I want to thank you for being on today. Want to just thank really all of our guests, Faith, today. Stephen Yang at SK. Stephen, can't wait to get up there and see the facility.
Thank you.
And James, thanks for your leadership there in commerce as the city manager. Appreciate your good work. Faith, where are we heading next week?
So next week we will be in Toccoa, up there in Northeast Georgia. And then the week after that, we'll be down in Jessup. And then after that, we'll be in Cartersville.
Great. We'll continue to make our way around the state. Appreciate you joining us today on Community Focus. Have a great Thursday, everyone, and a great weekend. Take care. God bless you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.